Mohg Palace in Elden Ring is a secret location that can only be accessed in two different, very specific ways, and this is also where we're going to be entering into the DLC when it releases. So I'm going to quickly show you both options to get to this palace and fight Mohg. Let's get into it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this will be the location that allows us to get into the DLC when it does release. There is one other minor thing that you have to do to get to the DLC, but I'll cover that later on in the video. I want to focus on the two different ways that you can actually get to this palace so you can access the DLC very quickly. The first, and arguably one of the simpler ways to actually get this done, is through Varre's questline. Varre is the guy that you meet right as you start the game, first time you walk into the lands between, and his entire questline allows you to get to Mohg Palace. There are a lot of different steps, but it doesn't take you to the end game if you want to go this way. Now, the other option that pretty much does take you to the end game is through two different medallion pieces, which I'll cover a little bit later, but first we're going to focus on Varre's questline. Now, to start Varre's questline is very simple. Simply exhaust all of his dialogue when you first meet him right outside of the tutorial area. Next, you're going to have to complete Stormveil Castle and defeat Godric the Grafted. Once you have defeated him, make your way back to the round table hold and start talking to the finger reader crone where the two fingers are sitting in the room. This is going to activate the next steps inside of Varre's questline and move him from the starting area of Limgrave into the next area, Liurnia. To be more specific, you will only find him at the Rose Church. He's not very hard to find at the Rose Church. He will be standing there right in front of the church if you have gone through those other three steps that I just mentioned before. Once again, start talking to him and exhaust his dialogue. This is when he's going to give you certain fingers that allow you to go into multiplayer and invade different realms. If you're online and can access multiplayer, you're going to want to go and do these Festering Bloody Fingers 3 times. You don't have to actually defeat the people in these realms, you just have to go into the realm and return back to your realm any way possible. I literally just loaded in 3 separate realms and immediately sent myself back and accounted towards this questline, so it's very simple to do if you're online. But if you are not online and don't have internet connection to do multiplayer, make your way to the Writhe Blood Ruins in the Altus Plateau to the marker that I am putting down on the map on the screen. This will be an invasion location that will count towards this questline. No matter which way you complete this part of the questline, once you have completed it, make your way back to Varre and then he will get you into the next section of his questline, which will be to find Maiden's Blood. There are multiple ways to do this, but there are two in particular that are very easy to find that do not require you killing an NPC. The first of these two options can be found at the Church of Inhibition. This is going to be right next to one of the Madness Towers that's constantly attacking you from up the hill, and very close to a lot of walking mausoleums. Whenever you arrive and get to the site of grace, you'll obviously see the maiden that is dead right next to this. You can then use her to cover up the cloth and proceed through the quest line. The other option can be found by using the 4 Belfries location, going through one of the very particular portals in this area. You will need an imbued stone sword key, which thankfully they provide for you at the very top of the hill in a chest, and go to the exact portal location that I am pinging on this map. It's very important you take this particular portal because this will transport you to the very start of the game, or at least the first location you can use your character. Inside of the same place, you may have noticed that there was a maiden there when you first arrived. You can also use her blood to help progress the storyline as well. There are 2 other NPCs that are living that you can go and use, but these are easier in my opinion. But whenever you do get this cloth fulfilled and covered in Maiden's Blood, return back to Varre at the Rose Church, exhaust all his dialogue and go through a short cutscene where he puts different blood into your finger. It's really weird. After this little cutscene, talk to him again and he will actually give you another item that is allowing you to teleport to Mohg Palace. This item will be with you throughout the rest of the game. Now, to actually teleport to Mohg Palace, go to your inventory and simply use the Pure Blood Knight's Metal Medallion, and you will spawn in a safe area, thankfully, outside of the Mohg Palace, and you'll be able to see it up top right around some rocks. It is a difficult area, so if you're not leveled up enough, it will be tough. So now that we made it to Mohg's home through Varre's questline, let's go through the other option that really takes you through a lot of the game and takes a while to complete. I say this because you have to get in certain areas of the game to get the 2 halves of this medallion, and the second half is found in the mountaintops of the giants. So let's back up to where you can really start going after this other option. The first half that you can find of this medallion is inside the village of the Albanorax, underneath the giant rock face inside of Liurnia. It's very easy to find this village. From the only side of grace inside of this area, simply go up the hill until you come come across this pot. Simply swing at the pot with whatever attack that you have, and the pot will disintegrate into an Albinauric that immediately starts talking to you. His name is Albus, and he will immediately start telling you how his village is doing, but he wants to keep this part of the medallion very safe and immediately gives it to you. This is the Erdtree secret medallion, the right side. Now again, the left side can only be found inside the mountaintops of the giants at a very particular location. This location is called Castle Soul, and you're going to have to go through the entire castle, which is not that easy, defeat the main boss inside of this area, and make your way to the top of the castle. Once you make it to the top, you're going to see a spirit sitting right next to an item. The item that you're going to see sitting next to the spirit is the other half of this medallion. Now, you're going to have to make your way to the lift. The lift that I'm talking about is the same one that got you to the mountaintops of the giants in the first place, the Grand Lift of Rold, except now, when you get to the Grand Lift, you're going to have an option to switch the medallion that you're using. Normally it's going to say hoist medallion, but if you switch the action however you can, it allows you to hoist the secret medallion. This will start to play a cutscene where all the different statues are going to have green glowing eyes instead of the normal color that you would see when you first got to the mountaintops of the giants. As you probably know or have guessed, this is also how you can get to the Erdtree, or the next step to getting to the Erdtree, where you can fight Millennia. As you also may know already, this will get you to a catacomb which you need to progress through until you get to the Consecrated Snowfields. This is going to be the area where you find a portal that will get you to Mohg Palace. Now the Snowfield area is very large, there's a lot of stuff that wants to attack you, and finding this is basically a needle in the haystack, but thankfully it's very easy to find when you know the location. It is tucked in this little corner where I've put the marker on the map right on the edge of the cliff. It's very easy to find when you get to this particular location because there's actually a lot of blood in the area. As you know, simply go through the portal, you'll be transported once again, but this time instead of being at the foot of Mohg Palace, you're in a random cave in the same area. Simply exit this cave. It's very easy to get to the exit, and you'll see Mohg Palace in the distance in all its flaming glory. From this way to get to Mohg Palace, you're going to have to fight your way to the foot of the palace. It's not that bad if you're leveled up enough. So now we've made it to Mohg Palace. This is where the DLC conversation really starts, because this is one of two parts that we have been confirmed that we have to do to fully unlock the DLC in our current playthroughs. We know that the actual entrance into Shadow of the Erdtree is by interacting with Miquella's hand, which is reaching out of the cocoon inside of Mohg Palace. Now, to even get the ability to interact with this hand, you of course first have to interact and fight Mohg himself. Now, Mohg is considered one of the toughest bosses inside of this game, so be prepared to fight him at the highest level that you possibly have with every little trick in the book that you do have, especially if you're under leveled. The way I see it is that Mohg is your first step into Shadow of the Erdtree, so if you can't defeat Mohg, you're not going to be able to survive inside of Shadow of the Erdtree itself. But into addition of Mohg, we also have to go and defeat Radahn, which if you're already at the point where you're able to fight Mohg, Radahn at this point in the game, after all the big nerfs, should not be that difficult. But these are the only two barriers to entry that we have to get to this DLC. I don't think it would be a From Software game if there wasn't some form of barrier to entry into this DLC. So with both Radahn and Mohg defeated, you'll be able to go interact with the cocoon as soon as the DLC is available, which will be nice because there is also a fast travel point right in front of the cocoon itself. I hope you guys find this little walkthrough helpful. I know it's been some time since a lot of people have gone and done the questline for Varre and gone to the Consecrated Snowfields to get to Mohg Palace, so I figured it was a good refresher, especially since we know exactly how we can get into the DLC when it gets released. If you found this walkthrough guide helpful, please let me know by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. I'll be covering everything that I possibly can with the DLC when it does get released, so make sure you subscribe for all that information. We'll be covering all the secrets that we could possibly find in the DLC. Once again, I hope you guys did find this helpful, and I'll catch you in the next video.